Let me bring up the most recent example of this, and that is of the character Reva, and from the Kenobi series. Judge Gore and I, we have spoken critically of the character, not the actress, but of the character itself. If we were critical of the actress, it was in the way in which she was portrayed. And it seems like that a lot of the criticism of Reva has been described as racist or examples of racism, which led one Ewan McGregor to post a video with this shock and dismay about the racist comments and tweets she has been getting, which I will admit she has probably gotten, being a person of the internet and a celebrity. That is kind of par for the course for anyone. But but no one has ever really talked about the quality of her performance, and they're just writing this off as being a racist thing. I'd just like to open that up for comment. Do you feel like that this is a case in which fans were treated unfairly for something legitimately bad?
Well, I can say I've never actually seen any of these supposed racist comments. And it felt like they sure went on the defense for something they weren't even being accused of in the first place or thrown at them. And they were trying to use the racist tactic to deflect from legitimate gripes and criticism, which usually were lobbied more towards the writing of the character and the caliber than the actual actress.
I would agree with Tom. And I would also say that if you haven't been making racist comments, they are not talking about you. So, and in fact, they're not talking about the majority of the fan base.
But I don't think that was ever stated. I don't think you McGregor ever said for the small minority of critics.
Yes.
I would like to condemn your comments. It appeared that he was referring to everybody who was criticizing the character and the actress.
Well, I as a fan, I didn't feel attacked at all because he wasn't talking about me. And I feel like everyone should feel the same if you were not blatantly being racist. And even Ryan Kindle himself a few weeks ago has demonstrated he gets horrifying DMs as a smaller public figure than any of these people. So I don't doubt that it happened. I just think that if you weren't participating in it, you shouldn't feel threatened by Disney because they're not talking to you. That's just how it is.
Now, I'd like to add to what Alan was saying and Tom as well, that I think this is a tactic. And I think when people have attacked characters, from my perspective, which I believe is in line with the charge, when you don't create something that has wide appeal, when you poorly construct stories, which is written in the charge, that do not appeal to a universal audience, which Lucas already had created and given on a silver platter to Disney. And when people respond to that and they say, I don't like these characters, they don't feel like Star Wars, they are not Star Wars, the tactic is respond back with racist charges, etc. Just strafe out and hit the audience. But the Star Wars fan, again, to bring it back to what matters, is just feeling like this isn't Star Wars. And when they object, whatever tactic they want to use, racist, misogynist, I believe Dr. Gordo said old dead white man in regards to Joseph Campbell, which is just insane. I think, again, that's just a tactic. But the Star Wars fan who loved what Lucas gave us, the mythos is why we love it. It's not just lightsaber battles. We care about the heart of these characters. And when you see Kenobi, even the mentioning of the show where Vader and Kenobi are supposed to fight outside of what Lucas clearly gave us, and people are like, I don't understand. This doesn't feel right. And even if they tune in, it's just off because they're messing with the classical heroes. And I'd love to throw this out in the debate and throw it to Lofty and Dr. Gordo. Do you think they continued the hero's journey in any respectful kind of way? If you want to do something different, call it something else. You have a whole universe to explore. But to make 7, 8, and 9 and call it the end of the Skywalker saga with what they gave us, do you think that is okay? Because
I'm not a fan of the trilogy. I believe I've said that before. In fact, I think The Rise of Skywalker may even be worse than The Last Jedi. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think we have a different opinion about the trajectory of the franchise going forward.
Well, then, so you agree that the wide audience appeal, which Lucas said, The success of Star Wars was to the psychological underpinnings
Yes.
that he pulled from Campbell's work, which is my main argument. How do you divide a fan base? You invert, you distort, you twist, you hijack the meaning of heroic characters, which what we connect to, and you give us something totally different. You just said yourself then, you didn't even really connect that well with Jedi or Skywalker.
I did not, and I think I do believe you're partially correct, but you're also partially wrong. I think with The Force Awakens, Abrams was clearly trying to reboot or copy and mimic what Lucas was doing with A New Hope. So you're making these grand statements of objective reality. It's like, well, you're partially correct, and you're also partially wrong. They did in some areas attempt to reimagine or continue the Joseph Campbell sort of mythology in some ways.
How?
But,
so if you take Rey, the quintessential character, which I cited in my opening, the way that she goes about, there's a great line from Iron Man. He says, if you need the suit, if you're nothing without the suit, you shouldn't have it.
Yeah.
And this is Rey. If she take the powers away from Rey, what is she? She doesn't fail. There's no humility. If you look at Luke Skywalker fails from Tusken Raiders, Wedge bailing him out during the trench run, needs help in the cantina, constantly fails, gets his arm chopped off.
Yeah.
Falls, is constantly
Saves
in
his
failure.
life. Yes.
He puts his weapons on against Yoda's advice. You do not need them. He goes in. He's failing constantly. He needs X-Wing fighters to drag him out. Rey does not fail. And if you want to destroy the appeal to a wide audience, you take away and you give a Mary Sue character as the heart, the new Luke, and you make our attention go to Rey and not Luke. And I think that is a destruction of the mythos. Where does she fail? She's the same in 7 as she is in 9, just with new powers.
I would say I mostly agree with you. I would say that given the fact that they didn't have a planned trilogy and that it was hodgepodge.
What is that? The multi-billion-dollar corporation?
Yes, it was a hodgepodge of.
Thank you for agreeing with the prosecution. Then thank you.
Yes. Oh boy, now I'm.
That's awesome.
See,
are you a false flag? This is great. This is
Kennedy's
great.
going to kill me, isn't she? No, I will say that Rey. Although I don't like the character, I feel like her flaws are in her mental state of mind. She is obsessed with learning about her past, learning about where she came from.
Where does she fail?
Well, the failure would be to waste time and energy focusing on things that
That's
you can't
not failure.
control.
Where does she fail? Like Luke trying to lift the X-Wing. And you can make carbon copies,
That's
right?
fair. That's fair. That's a
Where
fair
does
argument,
she
sir.
fail?
Yeah, I would say that Rey
that is-
bypassed the hero's journey.
She bypassed the heart of all of us.
Yeah.
We relate to Luke because he failed. We don't
That is
relate to Mary
That is a
Sue.
fair argument, sir. That is a
And
fair argument.
not to change the subject a little bit, but Mr. Pixels brought it up earlier, and I guess we can address Mr. Johnson on this part.
It's not Mr. Johnson. It's Mr. Richardson.
It's Richardson now? I have no idea who we're talking to anymore. Basically, the idea that Mr. Johnson wasn't given any guidelines to go by, but at the same time, don't you think it would still make sense to at least read the script or see the previous film? I mean, it boggles my brain. I would like to have one example in the history of filmmaking.
The previous film.
Sorry?
What's that, sir? Mr. Johnson.
Objection, Your Honor. I did see the previous film. It was on in the background at a big Hollywood party while I was talking about my favorite Alfred Hitchcock and Stanley Kubrick movies.
There was lots of sauce there.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis. This was shortly before he lost the ability to have conversations about his favorite Alfred Hitchcock movies.
Excuse me, Ryan. You keep changing. People are coming into court late. Some members of the jury are joining late. They may be confused. You may want to update your name on there so that people know exactly who you are.
I'm sorry. It changes by what I feel at the moment.
This is exculpatory evidence.